Hello again and welcome back. Today I've decided to start doing a series of videos teaching you how to make a fairy garden. Now the reason I'm doing it as a series of videos is because there's going to be quite a lot of material, and if you're wanting to build a fairy garden alongside me, it'd be a good idea to subscribe to the channel so that every time I post some new material you can follow it and make your fairy garden alongside me. When making a fairy garden, there's lots of different elements involved. First of all, you need a house, and then you need to think about planting, you need to think about decoration, you need to think about all the little accessories that you're going to put in your fairy garden, you're going to think about lighting, and obviously also you need to think about the little fairies that you're going to make to go in the garden. So like I said, it's going to be a long-term project. I'm going to start off by naming this first video Fairy Garden Part 1, and then obviously any subsequent videos I post I'll name them Part 2, Part 3, etc, etc, so that you can follow them if you wish to. So today the first thing we need to do is to start making our fairy house, so I'll show you how to do that now. There are many different materials you can use to make your fairy garden house, the fairy house for your fairy garden. You can use a bottle, you can use a tin can, you can use wood to make your house. I'm going to use a plant pot. Okay, so the first thing I need to do for the fairy house is make the fairy door. To fix to the side of the plant pot. So I'm going to take some air dry clay, make sure it's nicely wrapped up and sealed again so that it doesn't start to dry with the air reaching it. And then I'm going to start by just flattening the clay with my hand. And then using a rolling pin, I'm going to roll the clay out like you would when you were making pastry. So once your clay is big enough to make your door from, you need to sculpt the shape of your door. Now you can do a rectangular door, a circular door. It's entirely up to you what sort of door you want to do for your fairy house. It is your creation after all. For mine, I'm going to do an arched door. So, using a knife, I'm going to remove a section at the bottom to give my door a straight edge. I'm going to do the same for the sides, and don't worry about the clay that's left over because that can always go back into the pack and be reused for something else. And then I'm just going to do a sweeping arch over the top like so, and using my knife I'm going to lift the door from my work surface protector. You might need to give it a little bit of a reshape, and I'm going to check the size against my plant pot. So I'm quite happy with the size of that door. So the next thing I'm going to do is to use the flat edge of the knife, not the serrated edge, and just press some little indentations into it so that it looks like it's made from wood panelling. And then when the clay dries, the lines will dry into the door and you'll get that lovely wooden effect. Okay, so once you've got your fairy door with the lines in how you want it, we need to pop some crossbars onto your door to make it look more authentic. So I'm rolling out a sausage from the clay, flattening it, measure it on your door, so that's slightly too long, so I'm going to chop a little bit off the end, and I'm going to do the same on the other end, and I'm just going to neaten the edges. And then place that onto your door, and then I'm going to do the same across the bottom of the door. So again, rolling out into a sausage shape, flattening it with your fingers, measuring against the door, cutting off the edges, giving it nice flat edges, and then pressing it onto your door. Then you need to leave that to dry. And that's the fairy door with the crossbars placed along the door. So leave that to dry. It will take about 24 hours, and then I'll show you the next step. Whilst the fairy door is drying, you can start to decorate your container. I'm using little bits of grit and pebbles to give it an authentic cottagey look. It is quite labour intensive, but the final result is well worth the effort. I'm going to start off doing just the bottom of the house because I am going to put a window in there as well, using the same method as I did for the fairy door with the air dry clay. So in order to attach your pebbles, you need a good super glue. I use Mitafast super glue, and it comes with a reactor as well. And I find this the best out of all the things that I've tried because it bonds really well. So start by putting a little dab of the glue on your pot, give it a quick squirt with the reactor, and then place a pebble onto the pot and hold it firm until it bonds. It takes about 10 seconds to bond. There we go. And then keep going. So once your fairy door has dried, the next thing you need to do is to waterproof it. I use a waterproofing agent that I bought from Amazon. It was £3.95 and it's really good. I've already decanted some into an old tub. Give it a good stir with your brush and then just paint it on to the fairy door. Make sure it goes into all of the little lines that you've done with your knife for your wood grain. It needs to be entirely covered on the sides and everywhere, because if it isn't covered and the rain does get to it, it will dissolve air dry clay isn't waterproof, unfortunately. And then once you've done the front, make sure you do the underside as well, even though it's going to be stuck to your plant pot or your bottle or whatever it is you're going to use to make your fairy house. If the rain does happen to get behind it, then that could damage your whole creation. So there we go, that's all covered. I'll just leave that to dry. Once the waterproofing solution has dried, it's time to paint your fairy door. I'm going to do mine in emerald green. I'm using acrylic paints for this. You can use oil paints if you prefer. I've chosen to do acrylic paints because they seem to dry a lot quicker than oil. Oil paints can take anything up to 24 to 48 hours even sometimes to dry, whereas acrylics tend to be dry within the hour. My fairy door is now dry. I'm going to use a wide fanned brush and I'm going to put a little bit of gold embellishment on it, just to make it look that little bit more magical. And that will just catch the sun and glint in the sun. Okay, and I'll leave that to dry. The fairy door's now dry, but it does need one more thing before we stick it onto the fairy house, and that is a door handle. You can use any sort of door handle you like. You can use like a door knob with a round bead or something, but I've decided I'm going to do a little hoop. So I've got 4 strands of floristry wire. The reason I'm using floristry wire is because it's nice and brown, almost coppery brown coloured, and it does shine lovely in the sun, and it will make it look more authentic. Because a single thread of this, a single piece of this, sorry, is so thin, I mean, if you can even see that it's so thin, I'm using 4 to give it a bit more substance. So I'm just going to twist the strands together, and then I'm going to use a pen and I'm going to wrap around the pen. There we have our little door handle. To attach my door handle to my fairy door, I'm going to use super glue with a reactor. I use Mitafast. I'm going to put a small blob of glue on the door in the position where I want the handle to be. Give the reactor a little shake and spray onto your handle, and then just hold that in place. So whilst the fairy door was drying, I put all the pebbles onto my container, onto my flower pot to form the house. I left a space for the door and the window, and then once they're in place, I will fill around the gaps with the rest of the pebbles. So I'm going to use super glue again. Give it a good covering where the door's going to be. Give the back of the door a spray with the reactor. Position it and then hold it in place. And there it is, the finished first step towards our fairy garden, the lovely fairy house. Okay, so that's it for today. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed learning how to do a fairy house, and I do hope that you'll join me for the next part, which will be putting the roof on the fairy house. So we're going to make a roof. And then we'll continue in the next few episodes to do some accessories for your fairy garden. If you do want to follow this fairy house series, please do feel free to subscribe so that you're notified when new content becomes available. And until next time, I'll see you again soon.